right up there with the best ones. I'm telling you, not bad. Okay, we have our speaker now, Jackie Keogh. And before she comes up here in a second, I want to read you a couple things. One about her background, and then a quote we have here, which I think is very appropriate. Quote, "It's hard to argue that housing is not a fundamental human need. Decent, affordable housing should be a basic right for everybody in this country. The reason is simple. Without stable shelter, everything else falls apart." Quote, Matthew Desmond. Tell you a little bit of background about Jackie. She's part of a movement of bringing new homes, new affordable housing to Redmond and other places in Central Oregon. Jackie Keogh, a seasoned professional in the realm of community development and affordable housing, has dedicated over a decade to scaling grassroots nonprofit organizations. Her journey began in a pivotal role at the three-person affordable housing nonprofit in Massachusetts, which she helped to catalyze into a nationally recognized regional community development corporation. With a wealth of experience gained at the Portland Housing Bureau and as deputy director of Proud Ground, the largest community land trust in the Pacific Northwest, Jackie has become a driving force in fostering sustained organizational performance. Known for her commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, she engages with culturally and economically diverse communities, shaping community-led strategic communications and fundraising plans. Jackie loves her work in the affordable housing landscape, but she loves her family more. You'll likely find her out on Central Oregon's trails with her family. All right, welcome Jackie for us.
Thank you. Hi everyone, thanks for having me. What a nice introduction. So now you know a little bit about me. So Rooted Homes is a nonprofit organization that is committed to serving Central Oregonians with their affordable housing needs. We're really proud and excited to be expanding beyond the city of Bend to the city of Redmond. We have 40 units in development with another 100 planned in the city of Redmond. So Redmond is our new target city. I'm just going to share a little bit about our background and about those projects, and then leave room for dialogue and questions. You're welcome to interrupt me during this. This is my monologue, so if you have a burning question, feel free to ask. All right. So, as I mentioned, we're a nonprofit. We're community-led, so our board of directors is comprised of folks who are low-income, who are our low-income homeowners, and our community leaders. We have representatives who live in the city of Redmond, as well as work for the city of Redmond and Deschutes County. Housing Works, which you all are probably familiar with, the Regional Housing Authority, is our guarantor and partner. So we work together. They build affordable rental homeownership, and we build affordable ownership. And together we build these really idyllic communities where folks want to live in and neighbors want them next to them. We have about $1 million in our budget and $5 million in assets, and at any one time we're managing about $60 million in construction projects. So we're a little different than some affordable housing that you may be familiar with, because I build a lot of affordable housing, and unfortunately a lot of times it's the worst housing in the worst area of the neighborhood, right? And we're really committed to not just building affordable housing, but building high quality, sustainable housing. So you've likely driven by our housing, like on your way to Costco, without realizing it, because our homes fit into the fabric of the neighborhood and they look like market rate homes. We really believe that folks should be able to afford their home because it keeps them as long-term stable residents in our community. And a lot of our local workforce, nurses, teacher aides, can't afford to be in our workforce and also live here. And so what we essentially do is we serve people earning as little as 30% area median income. This is someone who would like be qualified for like a Section 8 apartment, all the way up to like a middle income working household who is likely, a Redmond teacher who's been there for quite a while. Our homes, on average, are $250,000 for a 3-bedroom, single-family, net zero home. So folks end up paying about 40% less than what they're paying in rent, and they have consistent payment that they can count on rather than up and down rents. Our homes are net zero. What that means is the home just produces as little energy as it consumes. And we all know, especially how cold it's been, an affordable mortgage is really unaffordable when your utility bills are hundreds of dollars a month. And so our homes cap their utility bills at $12 a month because there's solar on the homes that really negate any usage of the electricity of these all-electric homes. We're permanently affordable. We really believe that there's such a need for affordable housing, and yet if every time we sold an affordable home, it was bought by a market rate buyer, we would be one less affordable home needed in the city of Redmond. And so with us, as your community land trust, we own the land and the homeowner owns the home and the improvements. And that allows us to facilitate a resale. So at any time, if the homeowner chooses to sell, which they don't have to, but if they want to, they earn equity. They earn about $80,000 in equity after 10 years of purchase with us. And then that home is resold to another low-income household at no additional cost of ours or the city's. So essentially, as we build affordable housing, we really end up having 2 pipelines. One of the new construction homes we build, and the other of all these resales that are turning over. Really, we see 2 types of people buy our homes. The first group are folks who don't see real estate as this capitalistic investment. They just see it as stability. I want to keep my kids in the same school district. I want the same commute to work. I want to stay part of this parish that I've been part of forever. Because of that, those households typically will buy our home and stay in it forever, and they can heir it down to their children and their spouse who don't have to be income qualified, breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty. The other group are folks who want to buy a market rate home. They just don't make enough and they don't have that family support to get a down payment for a home. So we see them typically live in our home for like 7 to 10 years, and when they've earned enough through our equity program, they then go out and buy a home on the market for full equity. So this is just a quick overview of all the homes that we are building. So as I mentioned, we are based in Bend. We have 17 homes complete there and 40 under construction. We have 2 homes that will soon be closing this spring in Sisters. And then our goal is to expand throughout Central Oregon to better really be for the entire Central Oregon community. And so we have, as I mentioned, homes in Redmond, and then land in the Pineville, and now Madras that we will be breaking ground on next year. A lot of our projects that you'll see are in partnership with Housing Works. So we also have about 160 rentals in partnership with them.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah, please.
How do you decide where to locate? Affordability of land and property?
That's a great question. At first, when we started, it was just what we could get, honestly. And now, as we've become larger, we're more thoughtful about what community doesn't have similar affordable housing resources in it, and can we provide that? Typically, we buy our land from a city or county or like a like-minded private seller.
Subsidized?
Typically, we pay appraised value for the land, although sometimes that can be less because, for example, in Bend, we really have developed some difficult to develop areas, and because of that, nobody else really wanted to deal with the slope or the technicality of those sites, and so we purchased them. In Redmond, we've had a number of, both the city is planning on donating land, and private donors want to kind of see a legacy of that property, and they don't want it to be sold to market, so they reach out to us. In Lapine and Pineville and Madras, we've actually been working with the school districts, and they have been wanting us to build homes for their teachers, and so we've been working on coordinated land efforts there.
One other question real quick.
Yeah.
Do you get opposition from neighborhood communities?
I think it depends where we build the homes. So
That's in Bend, I take it.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. So on Bend's west side, where we built by Broken Top, we've certainly gotten opposition. I won't sit here and tell you we haven't. In other areas in Bend and Redmond, we have not, because these homes that are selling for $250,000 are appraising for double that. So they're appraising over $500,000. And so they're generally maintaining or increasing the property value of the neighbors next door. And so for that reason, as well as our resident-driven design, we typically don't have folks against our communities unless they're just generally going to be against affordable housing in general.
Which you would find there on the west side.
Yes, we found those folks, yeah. Go ahead.
Are your solar panels included in the price, or do you have to pay separately for that?
Everything's included. So the solar panels are already on the homes. All the appliances are in the homes. Essentially, we want people to move in, and these are turnkey-ready homes. Okay, I'm going to keep going, but keep asking away. So let's just take a look at what we're bringing to Redmond. So this is on 19th Avenue, walking distance to both the elementary school and high school. What we're taking is an existing home, a 100-year-old farmhouse, and the owner, who was previously having a farm on the site, on the 2 acres, really wanted to see her home transformed into affordable housing. So we just purchased the land from her. We're going to keep the existing home. As you heard in my bio, I'm from Massachusetts originally, and we think that old things are beautiful, and so we're not going to tear it down. So 100 years old is not as old as I'm used to, but it's old enough, and we're going to keep it. That home is going to be rehabbed for a middle-income family, so someone who doesn't qualify for any of these government benefits but still needs support. And that will be the only 4-bedroom house in our portfolio, because those are just typically too big to build. So we're excited about that. And then behind that, we're going to be building 22 new construction homes, triplexes and duplexes, because the entire neighborhood surrounding this is apartments and triplexes and duplexes. And there will be a pretty significant community garden in partnership with the Environmental Center in Redmond Public Schools that students from the elementary school will walk to as an open-air classroom during the school months to learn about how to grow your own food, gardening. And then in the summer months, the residents will take care of the garden. So that's that community. What I would also mention about it is that we're really committed to resident-driven design. So generally, we put out a site plan and home designs, and we have hundreds of residents, both folks who might be future home buyers, but just general folks as well in the Redmond community who give feedback. And so a lot of feedback we heard was like, we want family-sized units. We want more green space, right? You can see there's like play areas and picnic areas and preserving current treescapes. And so a lot of our design comes from the residents, and so we don't have a lot of feedback because people are heard, and we have adapted a lot of our designs based on that feedback. So, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, what's the square footage of those duplexes and triplexes?
They're usually between 1,300 and 1,600 square feet. So you have like an open living and kitchen area, and then we can put a lot of the square footage in the bedrooms. We always have, for our 3 bedrooms, we always put a bedroom on the first floor, so folks can age in place in these homes or have multi-generational living. And these homes are also generally designed so you can have an in-home childcare license. So if you want to watch your neighbor's kids and make a little bit more money, you can do that as well, because we recognize as a family that the childcare deficit really impacts overall family affordability. It's not just your housing costs.
You sold out?
Sold out? Oh, so we don't have wait lists. My daughter is 3.5, and she's been on a wait list here for 2.5 years, and I still have not gotten off some of them. And that just speaks to like how, to me, wait lists just don't work. And so what we do is a lottery to make it fair. And we typically select people 6 months before they move into their home, as long as they can have a pre-approval from a bank that they can afford the affordable purchase price. They're entered into our lottery. We do give preference to our workforce partners. We're in conversations with some major Redmond employers about giving preference to their employees, so these can be Redmond folks who purchase in these homes. And we also give preference to lower income households who are extremely low income.
Below 65%?
Yeah, typically 30%.
And those are subsidized?
All of our homes are subsidized. Some of them are subsidized additionally through folks' traveling Section 8 voucher.
Okay.
And so, I mean, in Bend, recently, we just closed 7 units. We had 300 people apply to those, and 50 of them were ready to go. Mortgage ready, could have moved in the next day. And so to me, that's like a wake-up call for us, is that we need to build more affordable housing, which is why our commitment is to build one community every single year. So folks who may not be selected the first year have another opportunity coming up.
In that same community.
No, in the next community. And so, perfect timing. The next, well, I'll jump back and forth. This is the next community we're building, and I recognize this might be, oh, it's pretty good actually. I can move my head. But this community is the next one in Redmond. It's on over 5 acres of land on Antler Ave, directly abuts the Dry Canyon area. And so this will be both commercial space, so Rooted Homes and Housing Works new offices will be here. That building right here will be a Neighbor Impact Head Start. 60 children, 3 to 5 years old, will get daycare services through that Head Start program. These units on this side will be Housing Works rentals. The numbers say how many bedrooms in each community. And then the other ones will be duplexes, and we've actually tweaked that design to do and single-family homes for ownership. And so this community will also connect 17th Street, which if anyone's familiar with that, stops right now. We'll bring it all the way through for neighborhood connectivity. So that's the next one we're building in Redmond.
Is that the land next to the Assembly of God Church?
Yes. This is what we're building right now. This is if you drive by on Simpson Ave, like by the Washington roundabout and by Broken Top. This is what we're building. We're having significant green space, and there's 40 units of affordable homes. Things we add, because we're not just building homes, we're building communities. We every homeowner receives an electric bike to give them that secondary transportation option that may not be a car and may not fit on our site. Typically we do 1 parking spot per site for the cars. And then we also include EV charging, and we have a lot of post-purchase classes around sustainability, how to manage your solar panels, and workshops. Right here in this big, empty, ugly-looking area will be an energy-efficient pavilion that folks can use as a community gathering space.
Question on the net zero.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the number of panels you have on there, and I'm pretty well versed in the PV world, and it doesn't seem like you're even like a third as many panels as you need to be net zero. So how are you coming up with that?
Well, we work with Sunlight Solar, if you're familiar. So
Yep,
they're the ones who are coming up with that. But it's not just the solar panels. So we're building a very high quality type building envelope that allows for essentially like getting close to a passive home, right? With a all electric home, heat pump, electric heat pump, hot water heater that allows you to turn it off, for example, if you leave the home. So there's a lot of quality control. Our homes, the actual framing is typically twice as thick as a typical home. So the home maintains its own energy, and then the solar supports that. But every one of our homes is net zero certified.
You guys actually have math that shows it worked out that way, or was it just anticipated?
No, we do.
Okay.
We do, yeah. And I'm happy that if you're a nerd like me, I'm happy to send that to you to check it out. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you guys working with particular builders, and how you offset the immense cost of materials and construction costs and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so when I came on just under 3 years ago, we took general contracting out of house. Can't do it all, and we don't need to do everything. So there's a lot of amazing general contractors here in the community that we work with. Solar Home Builders is our smaller general contractor when we do smaller communities that typically don't involve full roads through them. And then we work with right now O'Brien and Company to do the larger scale developments. But every time we have a community, we put a general contractor's bid out through COBA. And so we invite folks to apply, because we've actually worked with a number of other general contractors, and we don't want all our houses to look the same. And so that's why it's important to us to change general contractors now and then to fit the fabric of the neighborhood. Right? The homes we build in Bend are not going to look like the homes we build in Redmond, because this is a different aesthetic of what folks want. Our costs, so typically total development costs, including land, is just over $400,000 a home. And then we're selling them for $250. So the math of that is about $150,000 per home that we bring in through private and public funding. Essentially, we call it permanent subsidy that supports that gap. Most of that comes from the state. Some of it will come from the city. Like Redmond has a small CDBG program and is considering a construction excise tax. That would support that. And then we have a number of private donors. Specifically, all of our solar and net zero upgrades are supported by private folks who just want to make sure that these homes are long-term, high quality.
So the land lease would have to accompany that strategy for long-term hold too, then?
Yes, so we own the land lease through a deed restriction on the home.
Okay.
Say that again, who owns the land?
So Rooted Homes, as the nonprofit, owns the land lease through a deed restriction, and then we lease the land back to the homeowner. They own the whole structure, and then each homeowner is on a HOA board, and so they can control what we do. The land lease is really just a tool for when the home sells,
Correct.
for us to resell it. And we do that in-house.
But what's the term of the land lease agreement?
It's 99 years renewable,
A
so
typical
literally
land
forever.
lease. Yeah, typical land lease,
Yeah.
okay. Well, it is for private land. Yeah.
So essentially, because of our resales and how we estimate how many, we will be serving about just over 1,900 individuals or just under 400 or 500 families in the next 75 years. And that's like the very conservative estimate for these homes' long-term lifespan. Because we're working with general contractors and a number of local firms, we're creating about 121 new jobs for that pipeline we just talked about. And then we're earning just under $80,000 in equity. Essentially, someone earns 1.5% of equity on their entire mortgage every year, compounded. And so what that does is they have a schedule when they buy that if I sell at year 3, they know exactly what they're going to sell for. It also protects them in a downturn market. They will never be able to be underwater on the house. They'll always be able to sell it. Yeah.
You mentioned HOA. How much do you charge for the HOA?
Typically our HOAs are between $100 and $150 a month for the HOA. The lower end ones are the ones who self-manage, and the larger communities are formally managed by an HOA company.
If you had to pay full rent for the apartment complex, a 2-bedroom unit, what would you pay?
So we just did this. So our homes off of Brookswood on Poplar, those sold for $250. We gave everyone $50,000 in down payment assistance as a grant. So their mortgage was on $200,000. They were paying 40% less than they were paying on their rents for a 3-bedroom apartment.
So what do you rent your apartments for, the 2-bedroom apartment?
So Rooted Homes only does the ownership, and Housing Works does all of the rentals. Their rents are based on what the federal government lets them charge. I don't have those numbers, but I believe they're typically like just under $1,000. But those are heavily subsidized.
You said you had traveling vouchers, Section 8 vouchers too?
Yeah.
How does that apply? Does that get somebody up to 30% then?
Yeah, I love that program. This idea that like folks who are living in all of Housing Works Section 8 vouchers, if they want to move up and buy a home, they're going to have to leave the Redmond or the Bend community to do that because of home prices. So we build homes together to avoid that natural displacement that would happen. And so we give preference for folks who are moving out of their Section 8 rental into our homes. They're allowed to bring their Section 8 rental with them for 15 years. So for like a single mom, it essentially gives her a second income and allows her to move into ownership, whereas otherwise she wouldn't have access to that. And so those folks are typically at 30% area median income. If you count their Section 8, like their voucher,
right,
they got up to 60%, and that's how we serve them. So 30%, so a third of our entire portfolio is comprised of those individuals.
A third.
Mm-hmm. And we plan to continue that.
And how are you funded again?
So we are funded through the state. The state gives us funding typically around $100,000 a unit to build affordable housing, and then the rest is private or local funding. So we have a number of foundations or individuals who support us just like any other charity. We just kind of essentially match all of our individual and private giving one for one because of the competitive state money that we apply for and get awarded.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah?
Is that state money always going to be there?
Good question. So the state money comes through the Oregon Housing and Community Services, and the legislature last year approved that through 2026. For our program is $40 million of it to expend just this year. So yes, as long as the legislature keeps approving that funding. The funding started in 2017 and really allowed affordable housing to be ramped up in Oregon. Yeah.
So last week we heard a presentation on Governor Kotek's proposal.
Yeah.
Their programs are a little different, where they're saying if you build a development, especially if it's pressing against the urban growth boundaries, that 30% of the houses have to be affordable, where you guys are 100% affordable in your market. So it's kind of two different competing type of philosophies there.
So we actually worked in partnership with the governor's office to put that bill together. We're in full support of it. I actually think it's most advantageous of the entire state for Central Oregon,
Right.
because Central Oregon is running out of land, and I know folks feel differently about moving land into the UGB, but Redmond has done that on their North Point Village site. They used to be called Skyline Village. We're the affordable housing developer on that, and so it's very early stages. They're just buying it from the county right now, but our goal is to bring about the 60 units of affordable ownership, and then followed by affordable rental, at least that much in affordable rental to the sites, and that will be the first area of that UGB expansion that's developed. It'll be all the affordable housing. So we're in support of it, and I think Redmond's done an amazing job of demonstrating how well that works.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ready, Bart?
I'm ready.
Jackie, second.
Oh, we gotta have a picture.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, I have a leather pen. Nice. It's cool.
Yeah. All right. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I sit on a community committee.